Hello friends, how are you? I am Dre Lynn Clifford, known as the Hill Country Bon Vivant, and today I'm going to walk you through making chicken fricassees. Well, my version of it. So chicken fricassees is a classic dish where you sear the chicken meat. I'm doing all breasts here because that's what I had in my fridge, but you can do all different sorts of pieces if you'd like. And I was trying to clean out my fridge a little bit here and decided to use up some artichoke hearts that I had and of course some capers. I also have some sage that I need to use, and so I thought let's make this dish together. So I have 4 chicken breasts with the bone in and skin on. For this dish, you would want the skin on just so you can get some of that crunch. It's not gonna be like a fried chicken crunch, but you want some crunchiness to that skin. So we're gonna start always by using some diamond crystal salt here, and I generously salt all of the chicken. And then I'm gonna use pepper, and I only use freshly ground black pepper. Unfortunately, pre-ground pepper to me tastes a bit like sawdust, and that's not a fun thing. That's not a fun hang, if you will. And then I'm going to flip these over. I did not touch that with my fingers, by the way. I'm trying to do this one-handed. And you want to season both sides of your chicken. I'm going to rinse my hands off real quick here before I pick up my pepper grinder. And here we go. Pepper, 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 pepper. I am a huge, huge fan of pepper, so if you followed me for any amount of time, you're probably well aware of this fact. Okay, I'm gonna get some olive oil started, but before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about mise en place. So I decided that this was going to be the dish that I made, and so I pulled out all of my ingredients. And the reason I suggest you do this is because, one, if you start cooking and you're looking for ingredients, you could end up burning something or not realizing it's out of liquid if you're braising something. Or you realize, I thought I only had lemons, but I only have limes. I don't have any lemons, and that's not gonna go with the flavor profile that I have, so you're able to punt a little bit. So I always like to get my ingredients out. You don't necessarily have to chop everything in advance if you're gonna have some time while it's cooking, but I like to get everything together. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sear this with some olive oil. Here I have some Frankie's olive oil, which is one of my favorite brands. And then when I'm done with that, I'm gonna saute these artichoke hearts. So I don't have a ton. I have a friend that went on vacation that gave these to me. So I'm gonna cut these in half, and I'm gonna saute those in some olive oil and some butter. I wanna bring in some butter for some extra flavor, because there's flavor in that fat. And I like the dimension of butter and olive oil together. And then I'm gonna put the chicken back in the pan. I'm gonna add some capers, lemon juice, I'm going to add some white wine and a little chicken stock and some white wine vinegar for a little punch, but also the acid will help tenderize that chicken. And then I'm gonna finish it off with a little sage, and we're gonna finish it in the oven. So I have a pan over here. We're gonna see if this will work from this distance. And if it doesn't work this way this time, then I'll change it up next time. So it's a little chilly here today, so I've got my slippers on as we're gonna cook this together. So I put about 2 tablespoons of oil in there. And we're gonna put this on a medium-high heat, and the reason being is I want it to sear that chicken. So when that chicken hits the pan, it's gonna sear it. Just so you know, for a frame of reference, when you take a protein out of the fridge, when you're getting ready to do your mise en place, to get ready to cook, try to have your protein out for an hour if possible, at least a half hour. This is the reason why. So Sorry, forgot my tongs. When you think about bringing something to temp, so we're not going to cook the chicken all the way through on the stovetop, but we are going to get that good sear on it. And so if the chicken is coming out of the fridge at 34, 36 degrees, and it's got to get to like 110, 120 in this pan, it's going to take a while to do that, and it could pull the juices out of the meat. Instead, if you bring it out and you put it on your counter for about an hour, it will get to your room temp. So today I have my house at 70. I do have the heat on. Don't laugh at me. So it's at 70. So if this chicken is at 70, then it only has about, I'm not great at math, y'all, but like 50, 55 degrees to go versus all the way up from like 34 to that. So that's why we're doing that. So we're gonna take, and I'm gonna put my hand over this pan. That's how you can tell if it's ready to go. If you cannot put your hand like all the way down, it's hot and it's going to sizzle. I like to place my meat away from me. Let's see if I can get this camera over here. Come here, camera. There we go. So when it splatters away from me. Can you hear that sizzle? We're gonna nestle these in here. I'm gonna wash this up real quick. I'll be able to use the same pan in a minute when I take the chicken out. And instead of dirtying two pans, let's just do one, shall we? Okay, while that is cooking, I'm going to prep the artichoke hearts. So you want to make sure when you add something to the pan, if possible, to make it dry. And the artichoke hearts, you're going to want to take the extra moisture out, because if you don't, the moisture will cause some steam. Okay, now artichoke hearts are pretty moist to begin with, so that's going to happen already a little bit, but let's try to reduce the amount. And I had drained them already. And I like all the little bits and pieces of the artichokes. These are artichokes in water. There's all different kinds of artichokes on the market. If you like an artichoke heart, Trader Joe's has some grilled artichoke hearts that are really good. But just regular in water artichoke hearts, even some frozen ones are great. Okay, so I'm gonna set these aside. I'm gonna bring over the cutting board. Sorry, I had this under it so it wouldn't slip, but I was not quick enough to do that. Okay, so we're gonna just cut these in half. And I'm gonna put them back on the tray, face down. I'll show you. Or you can rip them in half. So when I cut one in half, using the tip of the knife, I'm gonna then take it and lay it down like that so the extra liquid can drain out of it. Can you hear that chicken going? All right. Now I wish I had about double of these that I do, but you know, when you're trying to come up with something for dinner, and I just got back from a trip yesterday and forgot I had an event tonight. So I need to get this done before I leave, so when I get home, dinner's ready and my husband has something to eat while he's waiting for me. So I'm gonna again take this paper towel and try to get some of that extra moisture out. And I'm gonna sprinkle them with salt and pepper. Because I'm that crazy person that likes to layer my flavors all the way through. And then I'm gonna take this and set this aside. so that I can put the chicken on this. That was loud, sorry. Let me check the chicken. It's not quite there yet. For your protein, if you have to fight to get it to turn, it's not ready. It's saying, release me later, sister. Just let me be for a couple more minutes. Because once that protein is fully is cooked on that side, it will then release. It's sticking because it still needs to cook a minute. So while we're doing that, I have my lemon here. I'll cut my lemon in half. Get that set aside, and then I'm also going to do some of my sage. Sage is one of my favorite herbs, especially in the fall and winter. It just smells like Thanksgiving to me. But I like to take it and cut it up, kind of like you do basil with a chiffonade. See what more branches or leaves I can get off of here. That one's turning a little bit. Now I like to store my fresh herbs like flowers. I just put them in a little ball jar with some water, and you can just, as long as you don't have a super hot kitchen, like as long as you have air conditioning in the summer, you can just leave them on the counter, or you can put them in the fridge if you prefer. So I'm going to take and stack these. And sage, if you haven't used fresh sage before, it's got a little texture to it. It's a little, for lack of a better word, furry. But I find when I cook with sage, it kind of reduces it a little bit. But to help that, I'm going to cut this. So I'm going to roll this up, and using a very sharp knife, I'm going to cut in very thin strips. Again, that's called a chiffonade. And a lot of times you'll see recipes that have basil in it call for a chiffonade. And it just makes it very thin strips of basil. Oh, can you smell that? No lie. Okay, let's see if this chicken's ready to flip yet. Yes, okay. This is what I'm looking for. You want that color, okay? See, it's all turning real easy now. So don't worry if when you are cooking, especially protein, and there's some brown bits. It's called fond, F-O-N-D, and we're going to deglaze it. Even if you don't cook with wine or broth in just a little water, deglazing it pulls that flavor out of the pan and back into your sauce. So you want that brown. You want a little bit of that fond to make it all fondly eaten. Fondly to eat. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say. So this side is not going to get as brown because it doesn't have the skin on it. So just keep that in mind as you're doing this. And I'm going to remove the chicken and put it on the pan. Okay, now I'm going to add a little more oil along with some butter. So I like to use a high quality butter like Kerrygold. I only cook with unsalted butter. There's a time and a place for salted butter. Some people like it for baking. But I prefer using unsalted butter so I can regulate the salt. If you haven't figured out, I like my diamond crystal salt and I like to be in control of it. So having that extra salt in the butter just isn't necessary. And if you add a little olive oil to your butter, it will help it not burn. Okay, now we're gonna dump these little artichoke hearts in. Let's see if I can get this across without breaking it. And because there's moisture in those, even though I use a paper towel, it is going to make a little noise. I'm just gonna saute that, and then I'm going to add what I do with it. Here it is. So this is white wine vinegar. I think most dishes taste better when you have a splash of acid in them. And vinegar is a great example of acid. A white wine vinegar is not as pungent or stringent as, let's say, like a white distilled vinegar. It still smells like vinegar, but more like a salad dressing than the smash in your face like distilled vinegar. And this is going to be, you don't want to inhale when you pour vinegar in a hot pan. Just letting you know, it might have happened to me once or twice. But we're gonna pour the vinegar in there, and then I'm gonna add the chicken broth and the white wine, and then I'm gonna add everything back into the pan. So, okay, we got those artichoke hearts all nice and crispy. Again, don't breathe in that vinegar or it will burn your nose. Okay, I'm going to attempt to bring you over here to show you. What the deglazing looks like. Okay, see how the vinegar, the liquid added to that fond, that's some fond that still needs to be deglazed, and it picked it all up and now it's in those artichokes. So I'm going to add the chicken stock and the wine, and you'll see some more deglazing. Okay, so I'm gonna do about, well, whatever's left in here, but I'm guessing this is about a cup of wine. You wanna add your wine first, and deglaze, get all those bits up. As Carla Hall says, there's flavor in the brown. See all that flavor is gonna get up. Okay, you're gonna let that cook for a minute or so, and then we'll add the chicken stock. Okay, so now I'm gonna add the chicken stock. Probably about a cup, so I have about 2 cups total of liquid in there. And I'm going to squeeze in the lemon juice. I like to just use my tongs into my hand to catch the seeds. And I drop the seed. Doesn't always work. It's not a foolproof method. Okay. Got it. All right, now I'm gonna stir that, and I'm going to add back in skin side up the chicken. Nestle that in there. Turn this off before I forget. Do you hear that crunch of that skin? Yum! Okay. Rinse my hand real quick. Okay, I'm gonna add in here now the sage that we had. I love a new jar of capers, aren't they beautiful? So I'm gonna add a couple of tablespoons of capers in here. If you don't like capers, you don't have to put them in. Something that might be good in here would be like some big olives. Okay, now I'm gonna put the top on it. And we're gonna put this in the oven for about 35, 40 minutes, and we'll check in later. Okay, the timer just went off, so let's check out this chicken. Okay, so the timer just went off, so let's check out the chicken. Ready to go. Okay. Oh, she looks beautiful. Whoop. Don't want to spill the sauce. Can you go down camera? Down camera? I guess it doesn't want to go down. But this is, let me see if I can manually do it. There we go, now you can see. So this, as you can see, the skin is still a little crispy. It's not gonna be super crispy because there has been some steam in here, but we'll let this set and then I can remove the chicken. If you want, you could take a tablespoon of butter and whisk that in there so it will make a little more of a pan sauce. This would be great with some mashed potatoes, with some noodles, with some polenta. But I think I'm gonna make a nice little salad and some homemade vinaigrette for us to enjoy tonight for dinner. So thank you for joining, and be sure to sign up so you get notifications when there's a new video. Thank you, love you, meet it. Be well.